At the end of every unit, your teacher has the chance to teach a lesson of lessons from context to enhance. What do you think our teacher, Mr. Whalen, has us do? He skipped the lesson and made us present an LEQ. This elocution needs historical evidence. Reasoning corroborates, maintains the whole relevance. Now with this thesis, Dr. Ayers know he had to inspire a presentation with information students would inquire. We recorded this LEQ for you to like and share. I know John Green and Steve, you see him everywhere. Most views are really needed by the 5th day. Head to sleep when you can keep this on replay. Now without proceeding this 2-4 minute mark, help us out and get the views out the ballpark.
So for our big idea questions, we came up with, for the first one, how did the Mongolians and the Mali empires arise? And for the second one, we came up with, how did the emerge of these new empires in Afro-Eurasia play a role in networks of exchange within Eurasia and Africa? For thesis, we have between the periods 1200 through 1450, the development of new empires began to gain powers in Afro-Eurasia due to either mass destruction or peaceful expansion. The Mongol Empire took a much different approach compared to the Mali Empire, as both had a difference in geographical position, intent, and technology. However, both empires expanded and succeeded with exploration and trade networks all around Afro-Eurasia, considering the environment was different. Therefore, the emerge of the new empires, Mali and Mongolian, both had different approaches in trade and completely different appearances and choices of action. So for the Mongolian Empire, for their rise, they emerges from the unification of the Mongolian tribes at the hands of Genghis Khan. For their control of Silk Roads, the once Khans gained military and political authority across the broad lands that linked Europe and Asia together. Khan's control over the northern parts quickly spread to the southern parts, destroying trade center currently occupying the area, and he soon gained control over the majority of the Silk Roads. For their trades, they relied on trades and exchange of resources as they did not produce their own resources. The Silk Roads. This exchange network stretched across Eurasia and North Africa through land and sea routes. The name Silk Road comes from Chinese silk, which was a highly valued material that was transported along these routes. The Mali Empire. The rise of the Mali Empire. They formed from the uniting of the Mongolian tribes. Control of Saharan trades. All through the Saharan routes existed long before the Mali Empire. The shift in power from Ghana to Mali shifted the direction of trade. The Mali Empire then controlled the gold trade and trade routes. For the Mali Empire, trade was a significant factor to their success. The Trans-Saharan trade. Routes went across the Sahara between sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa. West Africans exchanged local goods like gold, salt, and ivory.
Alomari Document 1324. Reasoning and analysis. The documentation shows the decrease in value of gold. First person point of view. Describes Mansa Musa's journey in Cairo, excessive exchange of the gold, fulfilling price of the gold. Mansa Musa, one of the Mali Empire leaders, contributed to the decreased value of gold. Point of view and situation. This letter, written by Alomari in first person, wrote about Mansa Musa's visit to Cairo in 1324. Alomari was an Arab writer and historian who worked to keep records of history down in the book. As told by the people, Alomari wrote down information about Mansa Musa's pilgrimage in 1324 CE. The king of Mali, Mansa Musa, has visited the city of Cairo and, without damage or violence, interpreted trade of gold all throughout that due to his presence. Number 2. We have the Mongols' transportation. To the right, you see a picture of the Mongols entitled Ox and Camel Carts 18th Songs of a Nomad Flute, a 14th Century Hand Scroll in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The reasoning analysis showcases the Mongols' method of transportation, rough terrains, possible use of horse to transport. They use horses for transportation as well as camel carts, as you see in the picture. They travel through the number of they travel 2 passages with large number of horses. Took an average of 10 to 12 days to travel. Now, for the point of view and situation, the photo illustrates that Mongol Empire's way of transportation. The people in the photo, the Mongolians, are using a method of horse, ox, and camel transportation for a long period of time to carry goods throughout rough roads. This is significant because it showcases the difference between how people travel in Eurasia and Africa. Number 3, the Mali's transportation, reasoning and analysis. Illustration of Mansa Musa on the right, on his way to Mecca, along with tens of thousands of Mali people. This includes the soldiers and slaves and heralds draped in Persian silk and carrying golden staffs, traveling in caravan. They use camels for transportation, and the camels carry goods in long distance. The trans-Saharan route was a safer travel by caravans and protected them from desert raiders, especially when they're together. Now, for the situation and point of view, this picture illustrates a bystander's point of view. The bystander views the gathering of the Mali people on their way to Mecca under Mansa Musa's direction. Now, for secondary sources.
Secondary sources. Perhaps the most famous and influential kingdom linked to the trans-Saharan trade was that of Mali. Mali would not rise until the 13th century. Thereafter, the gold trade was the centerpiece of the trans-Saharan trade. Money was the cause of early interest of Arabic traders in West Africa, which was indeed known to them as the Golden Country. These statements explain how trade was a big factor in the Mali Empire as Mali expanded the trading of gold. Our second secondary source. The Mongols assessed a reputation as fierce, uncompromising warriors. Rulers who would not submit were killed. Cities that dared to fight back were decimated. According to one witness, they came, they sacked, they burnt, they slew, they plundered, and they departed. This statement explains the impression Mongols made through their expansion of the empire, which was they were harsh in their process of their journey. Next is our theme analysis. Theme 4, economic systems. Economic systems were interpreted as West Africans traded gold, salt, as well as ivory. These resources covered a use for many essential, such as food, decor, and the scarcity of certain resources allowed need for more, furthering expanding the economic value. Theme 6, technology and innovation. Technology and innovation was asserted as the need for fast transportation with the storage of valued goods such as gold and salt was at an all-time high. The Mongols used horses and camel carts, which is similar to how the Mali Empire traveled with camels as they brought salt and gold. Back to our big ideas. Take a moment, pause the video, and try to attempt to solve the questions on your own. Here are some potential answers. For the first question, both empires grew out of the uniting of smaller clans and/or tribes, growing in strength as they took over surrounding kingdoms. For the second question, both empires of exchange expanded under the ruling of these new empires. The Mongolian Empire created a more stable exchange network. The Mali Empire became one of the richest empires in the region because of their large supply of gold. Because of this financial power, every place Mansa Musa, their king, traveled, their economies drastically inflated. And here are our sources.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.